Good morning. And it is a good morning. The sun is shining. Welcome to the online Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. I am the Reverend Florence Kaplow, the minister of this church, and I am coming to you live from my sun porch. And I do want to say that this way of doing online church is somewhat new to us, so please forgive any glitches and know that we will be correcting them as quickly as possible if they occur. I also want to thank the many other people who are part of this service. You will see images of them from their homes. And special thanks to WRFU 104.5 FM for playing this on the local radio as well. I want to remind you that each Sunday we have a sharing of joys and sorrows during the service. And if you would like a joy or sorrow read aloud this morning, you will see the email address to send your joy or sorrow to during the prelude coming up here. This congregation, we are a purposeful and resilient community, and we are here to take care of one another during this difficult time. And this is a difficult time. Whatever our situation may be, and I've heard from many that you are doing fairly well with the stay-at-home orders now extended through the end of April. But this is also a time of global grief and sadness. And there are small and large losses in our own lives as well, everywhere. The loss of our in-person church community. Some missing school friends or long anticipated graduations. Travel plans canceled. Separation from family. Vulnerable family members isolated and alone. This service is dedicated to opening our hearts to that grief, individual and collective. This service is dedicated to an old, deep human experience, lament. Each Sunday, we offer a land acknowledgement of the indigenous nations of the land upon which we gather. Wherever you are listening, please bring to mind the indigenous peoples of your place. And there will be a moment of silence after the acknowledgement. We recognize and acknowledge that we gather today on indigenous land, taken through deception, coercion, and violence. We acknowledge the continued displacements and oppression of Native people and honor their commitment to survival, identity, and the protection of our world. Thank you. And as Unitarian Universalists, we light a flaming chalice to begin our sacred time together. Please join me for the words of our chalice lighting on your screen, and feel free to light a chalice or candle in your home along with me. To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our spirits, our hearts, and our lives. And I light our chalice.
March 2020 by Linda Susan Ulrich, a UU minister in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The cloudless, watery blue sky has yet to learn about the small virus wreaking havoc on the earth below. The red buds emerging from winter trees have no idea they're awakening to a world where people can't hold the hands of their dying. The wind blows chill air through, whether or not cheeks and fingers remain protected within walls. Stars continue to burn their great stores of energy. Do they also fear the day they'll run out? But the birds know everything about singing to each other across empty spaces. Dogs understand greetings that don't involve touch. Tortoises take things slowly and carry their sense of home everywhere. Cats flatten their curves all the time. What will history write about this moment? What will our children remember? May it be a story of mutual care across all boundaries, a habit of compassion, as hopeful as the spring's return and as encompassing as the vaulted sky.
Thank you, Chris Hanauer, for that lovely reading, and also for all the work you have done over the last few days and this morning to make this live stream possible. The song we are about to sing, one of our hymns, is based on Psalm 137, a psalm expressing the grief and lamentation of the Jewish people in 586 BC from their captivity in Babylon. I am also aware that this week we were going to have a community Seder here at UUCUC, and I mourn that loss too. After we sing, please enjoy some words from our interim Director of Religious Education, Michelle Grove, and then a song written by Emily McCown, our youth coordinator, and also a wonderful and talented singer and songwriter.
By the
We sat down and wept, for these I own. We remember these I own. By the waters of Babylon, we sat down and wept, for these I own. We remember these I own. By the waters of Babylon, we sat down and wept, for these I own. We remember these I own.
Hello, this is Michelle Grove speaking. I'm the Interim Director of Religious Education and have been thinking about all of you this week and hoping that your mind, body, and spirit is holding up in the midst of these challenging times. This past week I've been thinking a great deal about our emotions and our feelings and what it means to feel all the feelings. You know, there's those comfortable emotions that we're pretty excited to feel, you know, the ones around joy and excitement and happiness and love, especially that love that we've been feeling for those nearby and those that are far away. I know that we've been thinking a lot about those relationships that are dear to us. There's also a lot of other emotions that are important to know about ourselves and to feel them deep, like sadness and anger and even fear. These are all a part of who we are, and they are important. So I encourage you to consider those and to remember that they all have a valuable part of our existence and that they all have a very special place to live within inside of us. One of my favorite movies is Disney's Inside Out. And for anybody who sees it, you can know that Riley, who is a teenager, has 5 emotional friends that live within inside her and help to guide and create each day of her life. And we, as the person who's watching that movie, get to know her emotions just as much as we get to know her. Do you remember joy and anger and disgust and sadness and fear? All 5 of them have a very special part of where she is. And as we laugh and as we cry with her, by the end of the movie, we discover that, first of all, every one of those emotions is important. Every one of them needs a place. You can't just put one of them aside. The other thing we learn is that we often feel different emotions at the same time. Think about it. Have you ever felt joy and sadness at the same time, or fear and anger? Yes. 30 years ago, the hit show The Simpsons aired on TV, and one of my favorite episodes is called Moaning Lisa. It is the one where Lisa, one of the members of the family, wakes up one day and finds that she is sad. And she stays sad for a while. It's a funk and she just doesn't get out of it. And as she kind of travels through her day, different people try to help her get out of that sadness. And she discovers that she doesn't really want to. She needs to be with her sadness. And it's not that she needs to quickly get rid of it. One of the people that helps her with her sadness is a jazz musician by the name of Bleeding Gums Murphy. Do y'all remember Bleeding Gums Murphy? He's a jazz musician that says to Lisa, just let your sadness be in your music. And he helps her to find ways to express it through her saxophone music. And it is beautiful. The other person that helps her is her mother, Marge. Now, at first, Marge wants her to bury it deep, to say, push those feelings way down so that the happiness can come back. She even says, if you don't feel like smiling, smile anyway, because then maybe if you smile and look happy, then maybe the feeling of happiness will come back. I wonder if any of us have ever had people try to get us to be happier than what we feel like we want to be. By the end of that episode, Marge comes back and she says these words: Lisa, I apologize to you. I was wrong. I take it back. Always be yourself. If you want to be sad, honey, be sad. We'll write it out with you. And when you get finished feeling sad, we'll still be there. My friends, if you find that this is a time of sadness or fear or anger, we're going to be with you. And when you get out of it, we're here too. We see every emotion as an important part of who you are. And we are here to be with you, to love you, and to bring us all into relationship with all the complexity of those feelings that live within us. So blessings to you all. Bye.
Come in my heart.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. We acknowledge that we are part of the sacred web of life, the web of our connections with each other, with our community, and with our world. This time in the service each Sunday is a time where we honor and lift up those connections. And first I want to say, by all of us staying home, really staying home, by closing our beloved church building, we are practicing our principles of caring and compassion. We are protecting the most vulnerable among us and in our community. We are protecting each other so that others who become ill can be well cared for in our hospitals. I know it's already been a long 2 weeks, but now is the most important time to stay home. I want to remind you that the next few weeks are forecast to be the peak of infections in our community and in many other places, and the curve is nearly exponential. Please take these stay-at-home orders very, very seriously in this time, whatever your age. Please limit all unnecessary risk, including, if you possibly can, even going to the grocery store. As one minister friend of mine said, now is the time to eat those Progresso cans of soup that you have had in your cupboard. Don't wait. Order online for delivery or pickup. This is the time to hunker down and stay safe. I want us all to survive this, dear ones. I want as many people as possible to survive this. And please, please let us know if you become ill or need other support. And don't be surprised if you hear from us as well. To see other ways we are here for you, please visit our website and look especially at our COVID-19 page. And please complete our online survey so we can better know your situation. Today, after the service, and hopefully from now on going forward, we will have a virtual fellowship hour via Zoom, and the information for how to access that will be at the end of this live stream and is also on the live stream page. And a reminder that although our church building may be closed, the spirit of our church is burning bright, very, very bright. And we love you. Now I would like to introduce Adelaide Amy, the Executive Director of the Rape Advocacy, Counseling, and Education Services organization, which is our shared offering this month.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to tell you about Rape Advocacy, Counseling, and Education Services, often called RACES. RACES works with survivors of sexual violence to help them regain power over their lives, find their own voice, and to begin to heal. At RACES, we provide a full array of services. Each year, trained advocates answer over 200 hotline calls at all times of the day and night. Staff also meet and support 50 survivors at the emergency room, stay with them throughout the medical exam and evidence collection. Our advocates assist with 50 or more filings of protective orders, and we also offer free and confidential counseling to those who've experienced sexual violence, including adult survivors of child sexual abuse. Our prevention education professionals present programs in schools, churches, and community centers, reaching thousands of children and adults each year. Because of the upsetting subject we deal with, RACES is the agency no one likes to think about until their loved one needs us. When that happens, we are ready to help. In closing, I'd like to share that I started my social work career over 30 years ago working at a rape crisis center in another state. After that, I worked with other client populations for some decades. After that, and then came back to rape crisis work a few years ago. In the 30 years between my first rape crisis job and this one, the incidence of sexual assault has been reduced by more than half. I'll say that again, reduced by more than half. That is the reason I go to work each morning. I hope that you will support races so that together we can end sexual violence in our lifetimes. Thank you.
Each Sunday, we share our Sunday offering with organizations that are in alignment with our values, voted on by members and friends of UUCUC each year. This month, the month of April, our shared offering is races. Our nonprofits need our support more than ever right now. And now we have a way to give quickly and easily through text and credit card, also securely through text and credit card. You can also still donate online or send in a check after the service, and the offering will now be received.
ago.
Thank you for your generosity. Also, thank you for your patience with our technology. I don't think you missed very much at all. We restarted at the beautiful Offertory there. I also want to thank our finance team, especially Mona Shannon and Kathy Vance, for their work on making it possible for us to do this donate by text, which will hopefully make it easier for everyone. We really appreciate that, having that option. Every Sunday, whether we are gathered in person or gathered in this strange online way from across the country and across the world, we bring our individual joys and sorrows to our time together. And each Sunday we sing a blessing song, and the words are going to appear on your screen, and I invite you to sing along with it or just let it wash over you, holding your own joys or sorrows in your heart. It's also the last opportunity to email something to be read aloud this morning. I have a few joys and sorrows to share here. From Olivia Webb. Joy. Saw the first dandelion of the season and all the other beautiful flowers blooming across town. From Marilyn Ryan. A joy. I'm grateful that even though we weren't able to get Umita's parents home from India, they are safe and comfortable in their apartment in Bombay. From Cindy Ingold, a great joy. Thanks to everyone for putting together our streaming services. Florence, our amazing staff, and volunteers. I look forward to this time together all week. An anonymous concern here. Friday night, we heard gunshots fired a few houses away, followed by the sound of a car driving away. We and several other neighbors called 911. We don't know what happened or if anyone was hurt. One of our recent practices is going for a walk every night and looking at the stars. Now I feel scared when a car passes while we are walking at night. The very next day, a friend expressed a desire to get a gun for protection. Myself and other friends in the online gathering listed many ways to protect oneself that are far less dangerous to oneself and one's family. Amidst the difficulty of COVID-19, let us not forget all the other troubles and sorrows of the world which still need our attention as well as our action. From Randy Locke, a joy. A little over a week ago, we planted scores and scores of seeds for our first attempt at a container garden. We've watered and waited patiently, and now we are greeted daily by new seedlings as they emerge and unfurl to new growth. From Aaron Dittmer. Sorrow for students who cannot fully engage in online learning because of unstable homes, family responsibilities, or lack of resources such as reliable internet. Joy at the collaboration, ingenuity, and dedication of teachers around the world who are committed to serving all of their students during this challenging time. Joy also for our new puppy, Jolene, who now knows her name and learned to play fetch yesterday. From Elizabeth Field, a joy at having passed my thesis defense on Wednesday. Grateful that so many were able to attend this virtual event, and thankful to all those who have reached out and helped to make this feel more like the special event it would normally be. Love to you all. From AJ Herzog, the Herzog family is grateful that we got to attend the Celebration of Life service for our cousin Ella before the lockdown took effect. We so needed to mourn and celebrate with family. From Amy Hassinger. Our hearts go out to all the students and families affected by the disturbing behavior and recent arrest of Uni High's PE teacher this past week. We are especially thinking of the teacher's family right now as they suffer with this experience, as well as all the vulnerable children affected. From Priscilla Cron, feeling deep appreciation for Marie McEnroe and her leadership with the mindfulness group. I second that. Such a gift during these days of separation. From Jill Hauser, a joy. We are happy to be safe in Savoy and glad for the sunny day walks we have been taking every day together. From Jenny Lakshin, I miss school. Oh, that's actually from Nina, from her daughter Nina. I miss school. Just making sure we don't have any more here. Here's one from Dave Sharp. Concern for the safety and health of the thousands of men and women in the jails and prisons in Illinois, and recognition to all who are contributing to the Education Justice Project at U of I, so EJP can provide gallons and gallons of sanitizer to Illinois Department of Corrections to distribute to these prisons. Bravo. From Doug Jones. This week, a group of volunteers launched a website, CPAP for COVID, to be a clearinghouse to get sleep apnea to projects fighting COVID, sleep apnea devices. I also want to add that our dear Dave Sutton passed away this week on April 2nd, Thursday, April 2nd. I sent out an in memoriam letter last night, which, by the way, has an incorrect address for the cards. I'll be sending out a correction. Dave was a tireless advocate for social justice, a dear member of our community, and a truly wonderful human being, and he will be missed terribly. I noticed that Sandy Hannum also had a sorrow at the loss of Dave Sutton, deep sympathy to Nancy Sutton and all of their family. Dave was a force for good in the community, working tirelessly to find justice for the poor and marginalized. We will miss him greatly. From Sandy and Jim Hannum. There will be a gathering of memories for him online tonight through Zoom, the same Zoom room that is where Fellowship Hour is later today. The directions are also in your letter if you wish to join and offer a few memories, especially for the family. And I'm also thinking of just all the many, many small joys and sorrows that are part of our lives right now. All those who are wondering about their own health or the health of those they love, or how they will pay bills if they don't have sick leave, or who will take care of their kids while they go to work, or whether their elders will be all right, or whether they should get tested, or whether the tests will be available, what the results of that test may be. With all of those, we send our love and blessings. And now we will have a time of reflection, prayer, and meditation to music. And I want to invite you in this time to really touch the feelings that perhaps you have shied away from as this pandemic has spread across the world and across our community. Allow yourself to feel your lament for yourself and your own losses, for people dying alone, for people losing their jobs or their businesses. Allow your heart to break open in this time. Allow your heart to feel the love that is there. The word lament is an old one, a word that perhaps lands strangely on our modern ears, that feels uncomfortable on our modern tongues. And yet, to lament is as deeply human as any emotion, perhaps one of the oldest of human emotions. I wanted in this service leading up to our Easter service next week to bring us a little closer to lament. I know this may be hard for some. Some of you may have been wishing that today was something uplifting, something about the spring flowers. I promise you we will get there next week. But one of the things that I have learned over my years is that to enter the light, we must be willing to walk in the dark. These two go together, as we say in Zen, like the front and back foot in walking. We are all in many different places with our current situation. But in my Buddhist tradition, we understand that to open to compassion, we have to be willing to feel. We have to let our hearts break. Just a little or a lot. And if ever there was a time for compassion, it is now. The other day in one of our worshipful listening times, Jerry Carden shared a wonderful reading by the Buddhist teacher Joseph Goldstein, and I wanted to share it with you. I thought it was so important for us this morning. Seeing the suffering in the world around us and in our own bodies and minds, we begin to understand suffering not only as an individual problem, but as a universal experience. It is one of the aspects of being alive. The question that then comes to mind is, if compassion arises from the awareness of suffering, why isn't the world a more compassionate place? The problem is that often our hearts are not open to feel the pain. We move away from it, close off, and become defended. By closing ourselves off from suffering, however, we also close ourselves to our own wellspring of compassion. We don't need to be particularly saintly in order to be compassionate. Compassion is the natural response of an open heart. But that wellspring of compassion remains capped as long as we turn away from or deny or resist the truth of what is there. When we deny our experience of suffering, we move away from what is genuine to what is fabricated, deceptive, and confusing. Perhaps that rings true for you right now when we think about our national government's response, some of it. Grief. Grief is a mystery, one of the greatest. And it takes many, many forms. I'm sure many, if not all of you, have heard of the stages of grief that were developed by Elisabeth Kubler-Ross. And sometimes people think that these are linear and you have to walk through one after the other to heal from grief. But actually, the stages are cyclical. They can arise, different stages can arise at different times, over and over again. I came across a recent interview by David Kessler, who is a student of Elisabeth Kubler-Ross and also a teacher around grief. And this is what he had to say about grief at this time. There's denial, which we saw a lot of early on. This virus won't affect us. There's anger. You're making me stay home and taking away my activities. There's bargaining. Okay, if I social distance for 2 weeks, everything will be better, right? There's sadness. I don't know when this will end. And finally, But remember, these go in a circle. There's acceptance. This is happening. I have to figure out how to proceed. And I would add that I think also in acceptance there is, this is happening. I will open my heart to it. I will feel it, and I will respond to the needs of what I need and what others need. Perhaps you recognize your own experience in one of those stages. Perhaps you've noticed yourself or your friends and family cycling through them. I certainly have. And one of the strangest things about this time, right now, this Sunday, is that a lot of what we're experiencing is anticipatory grief. David Kessler goes on to address this kind of grief. Anticipatory grief is that feeling we get about what the future holds when we're uncertain. Usually it centers on death. We feel it when someone gets a dire diagnosis or when we have the normal thought that we'll lose a parent someday. Anticipatory grief is also more broadly imagined futures. There is a storm coming. There's something bad out there. With a virus, this kind of grief is so confusing for people. Our primitive mind knows something bad is happening, but you can't see it. This breaks our sense of safety. We're feeling that loss of safety. I don't think we've collectively, hold on here. I don't think we've collectively lost our sense of general safety like this before, individually or globally. There's a poem by John O'Donohue. I just wanted to share a little bit of it because I think it's so relevant. It's called For the Interim Time, and this is an interim time in a way. When near the end of day, life has drained out of light, and it is too soon for the mind of night to have darkened things. No place looks like itself. Loss of outline makes everything look strangely in between, unsure of what has been or what might come. In this wan light, even trees seem groundless. In a while it will be night, but nothing here seems to believe the relief of dark. You cannot lay claim to anything in this place of dusk. Your eyes are blurred and there is no mirror. As far as you can, hold your confidence. Do not allow your confusion to squander this call which is loosening your roots in false ground, that you might come free. What is being transfigured here is your mind, and it is difficult and slow to become new. The more faithfully you can endure here, the more refined your heart will become for your arrival in the new dawn. We're a long way yet from the new dawn, but there will come a time on the other side. And to remember that never before have we been in something like this all together. The whole world, every country in the world, every continent, except for perhaps Antarctica. That's probably coming. No one is immune. No one is entirely safe, no matter their privilege, their wealth. We can close down in this time. We can go out and buy a gun to protect ourselves, or we can open up to our interconnectedness, to our shared humanity. That, of course, is my prayer, that we will do the latter. This is an incredible, world-shaking, historic moment. We need to stay awake to it, and we need to keep our hearts awake in it. I came across a quote by my own Zen teacher, Zoketsu Norman Fisher, that I've kept for a long time as a kind of talisman. All of our suffering is the suffering of all. Understood that way, it amounts to nothing less than love. All of our suffering is the suffering of all. Understood that way, it amounts to nothing less than love. And with that, we have our closing reading, which addresses love.
Psalm 23, For This Moment, by Kevin Tarza. This prayer was written for the memorial service in honor of former UUA moderator Jim Key. May I remember in this tender moment that love is my guide, always shepherding me towards ways of openness and compassion. That I have what I need, really, with love at my side, above me, below me, in front of me, behind me, inside every cell of me, love infused everywhere. Just when the weight of the world I inhabit threatens to drop me in place and press my hope down into the ground beneath me, love invites me to rest for a gentle while and leads the center of my soul to the quiet, still, restoring waters nearby that somehow I had not noticed. And so love, quietly, sets me once again on its tender and demanding path. Even when the walls close around me and the cries of death echo through untold corners, gripping my heart with fear and sadness, I know that all will be well, that I will be well, when love whispers near to me, glints at the corner of my eye, rests with gentle and persistent invitation upon my shoulders. Yes, love blesses me, even as the sources and symbols of my pain look on. Love blesses me from its infinite well, and I turn and notice that goodness and kindness and grace follow me everywhere, everywhere I go. I live in a house of love, love that will not let me go. I live in a house of love and always will.